Thanks so much for coming out today. We're really excited. I'm Kyle. I'm on the AYP steering committee, and I had the opportunity to have some conversation with this panel leading up to the summit, and I'm really excited about just some of the content they've got prepared for you guys. I want to introduce Kelsey Mangrum, and she's going to tell you a little bit about Holland Hearing Center, and then we're going to jump into it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelsey Mangrum. I'm an audiologist and owner of Holland Hearing Center. We're a private practice. We are celebrating our 20th year this year in October, but just basically hearing healthcare. And I have the distinct pleasure of sponsoring a powerhouse of not only business leaders, but really great leaders in our community. Our moderator today is going to be Ted Evans. Ted is, I feel like doesn't need an introduction, but Ted is an entrepreneur in every sense of the word, owning multiple businesses, such as our Lone Star Dry Goods, as well as Ice House at LSDG, and Lone Star Canvas and Signworks. Ted serves as the chair for the Abilene Regional Growth Alliance's Downtown Initiative, and is the incoming chair for the Abilene Convention and Visitors Bureau. So we are excited to get this started. I do want to let the audience know that we are going to do a Q&A afterwards, so if you can hold your questions until then, we will get going.
Thank you, and thank you for sponsoring this little session we have here. Glad to have you all here today. Again, my name is Ted Evans. Have Lone Star Dry Goods here downtown in the Ice House. We have three other business owners here in town today. Going to do some brief introductions, and then we'll get into some questions, and then some question and answer time frame. So here to my right, Nathan Lowry, owner of Big Country Title. Nathan moved to the Big Country in 2005, where he went to Hardin-Simmons University. He and his wife, Misty, Big Country native, own Big Country Title. They have 3 active children and an English pointer. Nathan is incredibly active in the community, serving on multiple boards, such as the Abilene Improvement Corporation, United Way of Abilene, and the Texas Land Title Association. Nathan is also a 2016 graduate of Leadership Abilene. Beside Nathan there, we have Sam Vinson, managing partner of Pine Valley Capital Partners. Sam Vinson is a managing partner at Pine Valley and a Big Country native of Abilene. Sam is a graduate of ACU and is active in the community, serving on the board of directors for the Development Corporation of Abilene and the Community Foundation of Abilene, to name a few. And then down here on the end, we have a longtime friend of mine, Lisa Bailey. She's one of the originals in downtown retail, going on 27 years of retail in downtown Abilene, long before most of us even thought about retail in downtown Abilene. Lisa was born and raised in Abilene, along with her sister Jamie. They own 389 Event Center, The Warehouse, The Arrangement, and Lee & Company. When Lisa isn't slinging flowers and designing events, you can find her assisting customers at the store. Lisa loves being a Wheezy to her niece and to her nephews, and a dog mom to Roscoe and Lucy. So we will kind of get right into a few questions back and forth with these guys. Everybody's going to have a couple of minutes to respond, and I'm just going to kind of mix it up of the order. So this first question, we'll start with Nathan and move on down. What motivated you to start your entrepreneurial journey or take on your current leadership role?
How much time do I have, Ted? Well, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad always said that we run our own businesses because no one else would hire us. I don't know that that's necessarily true. But I remember there was a time in college, actually, where we had a couple of businesses and were just trying to figure out how to pay bills and get through college. And what I learned was we we got to get really engaged with our customer and our community, and as an entrepreneur, got to directly affect the DNA of that organization. And so as I grew out of those roles, if you will, and into the title business, it really opened up a new avenue for community, and I think that's something you guys will hear us talk about a lot today, is just our value for community. But now, every day, we get an opportunity to assist people in the home or real estate buying and selling process. And what we get to bring to the table is a little bit more of an open mind. I can say my first venture out into the title industry, I was 25 years old. I walked into a conference, and I think I brought the average age down by about 15 years. I was much younger than my peers. And what I learned was that was going to give me, I learned this over time, but it gave us a distinct advantage, and that is really relevancy, and the opportunity to apply what we know or who we are to the marketplace. And I think as an entrepreneur, as a professional, you guys also have those opportunities to take a broader perspective of where the world is turning, or where we are right now, and how to apply that to your business. So it's a pleasure. I don't know that I'm qualified to be on this panel, quite honestly, but staying true to who we are has allowed us to I guess foster that innovation and growth that we look for.
Thank you, sir. Sam, same question. What motivated you to start down your journey?
Well, I will start by saying I know that I'm not qualified to be on this panel. No, so, I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur. And out of school, I went to Dallas and worked in an accounting firm and then an alternative investment firm. And what I realized, what I learned about myself in that experience, was that I'm a very impatient person. And in today's world, corporately speaking, you get a lot of folks that tell you to be patient and pay your dues, which is a great philosophy to have. It just not something that I ever subscribed to. So when we moved back to Abilene, I kind of found myself in a spot of, looking around trying to figure out what I was going to do. The skill set that I developed in Dallas for the companies that I had worked for, there really wasn't just a ton of opportunity to apply that skill set here in Abilene. And so I found myself in kind of a sink or swim situation of a spot of, I'm either going to have to go out and do this myself, or I'm going to have to settle for a career that I'm not all that passionate about. And so with that mentality, I just really started digging in and started locating and identifying opportunities. And in that, with my network of people and the community that I had developed, taking those opportunities and finding operators that I could place that with. So today, while yes, technically probably an entrepreneur, I think of myself as more of an investor. We have a real estate appraisal company. We have a real estate inspection company. I predominantly focus on specialty finance, where we've got a private credit fund that we operate out of Austin. I also have a equipment leasing and lease-to-own business here locally in Abilene that we operate as well. I can tell you, when I started in the entrepreneurial game, I thought it was all about business and quickly learned that it's about community and network. Without that community and network around me, there's no way I could build to the scale that I wanted to get to. And so we'll touch on that more later. But it's, I just want to say thank you all for being here today. It's inspiring to see so many young folks here in Abilene showing up for this event and being involved and engaged. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Sam. Lisa, same question. How did you get started down this journey?
I learned from a young age. I came from parents that were entrepreneurs and grandparents both, and went to college and didn't really know where I fit in. Always felt very creative from both sides of my parents. Took a dive into the flower world and decided that weddings were my absolute passion. So went to floral design school at A&M, came home and, came home and decided that either Abilene or Fort Worth, which my grandparents and my dad was from, would be the home. My parents were one that I went and applied for several jobs, and I just didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't feel like it was creative enough or out of the box. It felt like what we call bread and butter, and it was carnations, mums, and baby's breath. So I thought there's way more interesting things out there, and so my dad was like, and my mom were like, well, do you want to start a store? And I just looked at them like they'd lost their minds. After some wine with my mom, makes life a little easier sometimes, decided, why not? Sink or swim, throw yourself in the water, swim or not. So started the store with my sister 26 years ago, and decided at that point the only way you could make change was to get out there and try yourself. So every day we try to make those changes, give someone something different, and set us apart from everyone else doing what we do. So for us, it's building relationships with your clients that lead to something else and give you the opportunity to grow and foster connections and relationships that grow into something so much bigger than ourselves. Community, I can't say this enough, and I think anyone starting out a business in the very beginning, you feel like a fraud. You don't really know why someone's going to walk in your door. You have all this self-doubt, but the biggest step is taking that step forward and challenging yourself to do it. So in the beginning, community is such a huge deal. You have to build those relationships, even if it's people in your same industry that you feel like is your competition. You learn that you have your own niche, that we're not necessarily, yes, you are competing with that person, but we all do things a little differently. And so with that, me supporting someone else in our community just builds us both up. I mean, it's like this synergy. I mean, we're so much better together, and I'm going off record here, I'm sure, because I'm not fantastic at public speaking, but lucky you. It just helps us all grow and develop relationships. So I feel like that being an entrepreneur is like one of the biggest steps that help us grow and develop as a community. So absolutely, community over competition is huge.
I think we definitely see a common thread of relationships with everybody here. Relationships is the key. I really think that's a large advantage of being in a town the size of Abilene as well. I grew up here, went off to college, and I was in Houston for almost 6 years and worked in the energy business. And when I moved back here, small business kind of an opportunity fell on my lap, and I don't know how I would have even approached that scenario of starting a business or funding a business or anything in such a large city as Houston, whereas in a smaller town that you can get plugged into and create your own network, you know somebody. So that was fortunate for me. My parents grew up here, I grew up here, but it's like I couldn't imagine doing all these things in a larger town like that. Obviously, it's possible, but I think that's a real benefit of being in a town like this is you can not only get in town or get involved and be plugged into as much as you want to be, but it just provides a lot more opportunity for growth as well. So with that, next question. Can you share a specific innovation or strategy you have implemented that transformed your business or organization? Start with Sam.
Oh boy, I'd already passed it.
Well, I told you I was going to mix it up.
Hit me with the question again. I'd already turned off my head.
Specific innovation or strategy implemented that transformed your business or organization.
Yeah, this one is super simple. It is pick up the phone and make the phone call. what I found really quickly in business, and I don't know if everybody would agree with me on this, but I'd say 90% of the folks out there, successful folks that are out there, have no idea what they're doing. They don't. And you'd be shocked to learn that when you're sitting in the room. They don't know. What they do, what the skill set they do have is doing what they say they're going to do, and if they run into an issue, they pick up the phone and find the answer. It's amazing what you can accomplish by just doing simple little tasks. When I was in Dallas, I was working for a company that was a hedge fund, and we were going to go out and we were tasked with raising a significant amount of capital, and they kind of just slid it across the table to me and said, "This is how much money we need you to raise, Sam. Go get it done." And I said, "Well, how am I supposed to do this?" And they said, "Well, how do you need an elephant?" I said, "I don't know how to eat an elephant." They said, "You start with the tail." And that was it. That's all they gave me. And so what that meant to me was I've got to start picking up the phone and making phone calls. So anytime I partner with somebody, anytime I'm going to start a new business, I'm an entrepreneur, but which would make you think that I'm pretty risk tolerant. I'm very intolerant to risk. So the first thing I do is I try to identify the risks, and then I mitigate them and mitigate them and mitigate them the best I can. And then from there, once I have that game plan, once again, I pick up the phone and start making calls to start solving all those problems that are out there.
Very good. We're going to adjust this question a tad. Yours played in very well with this second question. I have an updated list of questions, which apparently y'all are all looking at as well. So on to Lisa, how has relationship building, this is kind of along the same lines, how has relationship building played a role in your ability to generate momentum in your business and in the community?
Okay, so this is a crazy one a little bit. So when we started out, I'll go back to that a little bit. The people that walked in our doors literally were friends and family. I mean, for a good solid year. Starting a business is so rough. Getting your name out there, marketing, I feel like we were really grassroots. And literally, if the phone rang, we knew the person or they knew our family. My grandmother was one of those that if she went to the bank, she was like, she'd take our business card, literally, we loved her, and she'd put it in the teller window. And so she'd call up every 6 weeks, "I need another box of business cards." We're like, "What are you doing with these business cards?" And she was like, "I know they're not cheap, but," and she goes, "I take it to the beauty shop, I take it here." She was fantastic. She was a go-getter and an entrepreneur on her own. So for us, we built a relationship with a school here in town, of someone that I have known growing up, that led to doing huge events, letting us be super creative. They had total faith in us, which let us build these steps to do things that were totally out of the box and you didn't see every day, which set us aside from everyone else. Without that relationship, I, hands down, would not be where I am today. I still have that working relationship with this client who, in fact, tomorrow I have a huge event with. They are no longer with that organization, but from that, it just opens doors. I mean, they know that I love what I do. We enjoy the creative process. I mean, when you love what you do, I mean, you want to go to work every day and you get to be creative. So I get to enjoy working with those clients, getting to be creative with their event, or, you know, whether I'm selling them clothes for an event. You just foster relationships, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you love what you do, you meet people, it reads off of you, that just builds from there. So, I mean, when they say it's the hands you shake, I mean, absolutely, hands down, can be. So I say fostering relationships is like the biggest thing that motivates you and helps build your business. Does that answer enough? Here you go, Stan.
Nathan, do you have any specific examples of how relationship building has played a role to generate momentum?
Absolutely. Before I do that, I want to underscore this thought, and that is, you guys all here are today and have the ability to be a change maker. I look around the room, I saw the kickoff this morning and was really inspired by the amount of young people and new faces that I've seen today, and I think that's what we need in Abilene. And one thing I would encourage you guys to do in this theme of relationships is to press in, look around the room, get to know each other, be a part of the next wave of really growing and building this community. It's very easy. I will say, I grew up in Houston. It's very easy to go to a big city, find a role, and plug in. But I think what this organization is doing and what we're doing here in Abilene, you guys have an opportunity to be huge agents for change and development of this community. So as you're young, we talk about this a lot in the chamber world and in Abilene, is retaining you guys, keeping you here. While you're young and your legs are fresh, so to speak, keep running hard, but find ways to plug in, build relationship with each other, and be that next wave of change. It's a big deal. Something that a connection I did not make to Lisa, and back to this theme of relationships, is one of my first businesses in college. I was cleaning real estate signs. You guys can appreciate that when I was in high school. But as I got into college, we had a moving company, and Lisa and her mom were one of our first customers. I didn't make that connection with you earlier, but we would come in and move tables and chairs and do some of that kind of stuff. And I think it's ironic that we're talking about relationships, how important they are, and I'm sitting on a panel with someone who didn't know maybe that we had some business overlap 20 years ago, Lisa. And then Sam, who is a close friend to my brother-in-law. And so when Ted talks about a small world, guys, it's a small world. But when we talk about the opportunity that this community brings, those simple connections that I've just given you are a great example of how important relationships are. The other thing I'll leave with is, you've probably heard this said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You guys looking in this room, career motivated, people who are inspired and inspiring, hang in here, stay together. You guys are that next wave of change, and I think if you hold on to that principle and stick to these hard driving people that are around you, there's a lot that you can accomplish, and a huge difference you can make through those relationships and for your community.
Thank you, sir. Next question for Lisa.
After that, really?
Can you describe your process of taking an idea from the thought/brainstorming stage to the execution sustainability phase?
Okay, this one is actually kind of hard for me, even though I do it all day long, because it depends on the client. For us, either I walk in and have a meeting with a client, we sit down and discuss their event, no matter what kind it might be. The process is figuring out, for one, the ugly word of budget sometimes, because they don't always know, or they absolutely know, one or the other. I'm not sure which is worse, but anyway. And we process of like giving them their dreams, like in the perfect world, if you could have every single thing that they discuss, what that looks like logistically. I'm a little different because, for one, budget, theme, style, decor, what the weather is that day, logistically, how getting in a time frame for a client to load into a conference center like this, what that looks like. So for us, it's every day evolving. It's not one set example, which I love. There's never a dull day. But each event, each thing provides a whole different set of logistical problems, how something gets mechanically put together, connecting the right people, what that looks like. So it's a lot of plates in the air rotating around, which is super exciting for me, and I love that.
Very good. Nathan? Sam?
Me? You? Go. Okay.
Hot seat.
Taking an idea from thought brainstorming stage to execution and sustainability phase.
Yeah. The word idea is interesting to me. Because when I was younger, when I was sitting in your shoes, and you hear about an entrepreneur, and these entrepreneurs exist out there, they're folks that have incredible ideas, right? And they're passionate about it, and they want to go develop this idea, take it to market, and go execute on it. I'm not a very creative person. All of my, quote, ideas have come from the community around me and my network, and simply meeting people and asking them, what is it that you want to do? What is it you want to do? And what is your skill set? And understanding that and having that spread throughout the community, whenever I hear of an opportunity or I hear of well, yeah, we'll just call it an opportunity, I have places I can go put that opportunity. Does that make sense? And so from basically the identification of the idea and the brainstorming is simply, there's the opportunity that I've picked up from a banker or from a conversation I've had with Nathan, and I know that my brother-in-law has a certain skill set that I can place that opportunity with, right? And so that from there we brainstorm, and then going back to what I said earlier, from there it's about identifying the risks that are involved, all right? Talking specifically about business, I do not like to be controlled from outside sources, and there is nothing more controlling than negative cash flow. And so I try to structure around that the best I can, and devise a path to positive cash flow as soon as reasonably possible, ideally day one. And so if there is a path to that, and I can clearly see that, then from there it's just simply identifying the needs and hurdles to get there, whether it's capital, whether it's deal flow, whatever that may be. I can get all that set up on the front end, so by the time we actually register that stinking LLC and we hang that shingle, we're ready to roll, all right? We're ready to roll up front, and we can go execute immediately. And so that's kind of my thought process as I think about new business opportunities or ideas, is I've already got the people in place that I know that can execute on that. I see the idea, I place it, we identify risks and hurdles and needs, we go solve those issues, and then we go execute on the business.
That's good.
Is that good?
Yeah. I think the relationship component, what Sam's saying is still so key. When I look at well, let me ask this question. Are there any engineers in the room, civil engineers? Yeah. Okay. We need to get to know each other. We deal with a lot of developers in real estate, whether it's commercial, it's residential, and when I look at a problem, Sam described this earlier of being a solutions person. I'm looking at a problem. I want to understand the problems, but I want to jump straight to solutions. How do we get there? And then I want to build a team around me of people who understand problems but can also create solutions. I like solutions-oriented people. And so when we sit down looking at an opportunity for a client, and they're saying, hey, I want to develop this neighborhood, again, I take this holistic approach, and I try to start looking at, okay, if you plant this, what's your goal? Do you want to just optimize your profits, or do you want to set yourself up for the next deal? And my hope is that our client will say the next deal, and I can say, okay, depending on how you've answered that question will really dictate who the team is, right? And that team is going to be people in our organization, and there's going to be other partners outside of the organization. But then we want to say, okay, if you really do want to set yourself up for the next deal, we need to be very honest with everyone else who's influencing your decisions, with your banker, with your engineer, with your real estate lead, your broker or agent. And we want to really sit down and figure out, are the ideas that you have, are they going to actually yield the outcome that you're looking for? I'm still looking for that solution. But again, probably the most important step in that process is identifying the problems, figuring out what solutions we want to create, and then what is the team that's going to get us there, or who is that team that's going to get us there. And as you develop those relationships with those teammates in those transactions, I don't need anything else out of you. Tell me your name. Trey. I don't need anything else out of you, Trey, other than a great partnership. That we're going to look outside the box before we come back in it and solve these problems. And that's how we keep generating those next deals and really taking care of our customers, but also what I would say is make a big impact on Abilene. Trey, I hate open subdivisions. I do not like roads stubbing out to the next neighborhood. That is something personal, but those are the things that we look at. So.
Thank you, Nathan. I don't know how we got the professional on the panel here, but we're going to move on to our last question, and there'll be a little bit of time for some Q&A if y'all have some questions. But for you guys, looking back on all the experience you've accrued over the years, what advice would you give the budding entrepreneur that you were years ago?
Yeah. Let me start. You okay with this? You okay? Okay. Man, it still goes back to relationships. I know that may be a resounding theme here, but there was a banker years ago. We were looking for some working capital for one of these businesses when I was in college, and he was he was a quarter of a point higher than the next guy, but he had banked some family members of ours for a really long time, and I came back to him and I said, "Hey, can you come down a quarter of a point? My other alternative or option is a quarter point lower. What that means for us is X from both a cash standpoint and our ability to build equity." And he said, "Nathan, I can come down a quarter of a point, but what I know about my competitor in this scenario is they're not going to be there for you when it matters." And he said, "So if I come down, I don't know that I can do everything for you that I need to. But if you stay with me," he said, "I'll be your guy." And he really imparted a lot of principles about relationship that it took me a while to learn, because I didn't take his deal. I went for the cheaper route, and I learned the hard way. I remember actually running into him about 10 years ago, and I actually told him, "Hey, I'm sorry. I should have taken that deal." It was a short-term loan, but what I learned later is that it made a big difference. And so relationships matter, and I would say as young as you guys are, press in, find those relationships, and create a team around you that you can really understand when you get that relationship pitch, if it's meaningful or not, or what it means to you. So
It sounded like a Shark Tank experience.
yeah.
All right. Sam?
Yeah, I'm going to hit on relationships as well, and we've talked a lot about them today from a business standpoint, but there's a lot more benefit that comes out of those relationships and being involved with your community than just business alone. I told y'all that I was in Dallas for a handful of years, and that if you're going to picture that, that's me spending probably about 2 hours a day on the Dallas North Tollway, just sitting there. I'd go to work for about, call it 8 to 10 hours, and then turn around and come back home. And that was the extent of my life. We moved to Abilene. I picked up the phone and called a guy named Tucker Bridwell. And Tucker was nice enough to let me come into his office and sit down and introduce myself. And Tucker said, "Well, I'm glad you're going to be in Abilene. you really need to get involved civically. And I said, yeah, I've looked forward to that. I'm excited about doing all of that, just like the stock answer. He goes, no, you're going to get involved. It's a requirement. And I took that piece of advice and I started getting involved locally, whether it be, I started with the Abilene Preservation League, the Grace Museum, of course the DCOA, the Chamber of Commerce, really anywhere I could find a place that could use my skill set, however limited that it is, and getting involved there. Because what I realized once I really started getting involved with this community and understanding how it worked and what its needs were and how I could help, man, it's the most fulfilling thing I can imagine. And the idea of me picking up and moving back to Dallas or Houston or San Antonio and being carved out of that life and going back to just the working silo, it's not an option for me, frankly. I could not do it. I've seen too much. And I've gotten too much enjoyment out of building relationships and serving my community in that aspect. And with that, y'all are here today. Y'all are already proving that you have that mindset. And that is very, very inspiring to me, and I'm sure other panelists up here as well, because this city needs you, this community needs you, and they need your involvement. They need your voice in the room, because if we're all rowing the boat in the same direction, it's going to be a lot easier for this community to succeed. So that's my little tidbit.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. My younger self in this, take risks, believe in yourself enough to do that. I think I started when I was 24, just a couple days ago, and we had so many people who were like, you'll never make it. I cannot tell you. I think the average when we decided to jump after being in business for right around 3 years to move into the downtown area and into a really big building and all that, I think we had 15 bankers turn us down. And I don't know if it's stubbornness or headstrong. I don't know what you call it, but we never gave up. If you believe in yourself enough, no was not the answer. We always had to work so much harder. I had a learning disability growing up, so nothing ever came easy. And so I think that was probably, I saw it as a huge downfall as a kid, but it turned into probably the biggest blessing because nothing ever came easy to begin with. So, okay, so they said no, next, who's the next person? And half the battle was for the fact that we didn't have any debt. Even though we had an established business, we were in a small location, and they were like, you want to move into 15,000 square feet? Have you lost your mind? So take those risks. Believe in yourself enough to fight day in and day out for your business, because small business is like a roller coaster. The highs are high and the lows are so low that they will close your doors. But you have to get up every day and fight for it. And if you don't have that gut punch of a feeling that you're going to do it no matter what everyone else says, you probably don't need to do it, because the hours are long. Right, Ted?
It's a commitment.
It is. It's a huge commitment. So take those risks if you believe in yourself enough to do it. And something that I think probably because I'm probably the oldest one on this panel right now, we didn't have social media back then. We didn't have all of this influencer, all of those things that we have now. I think our biggest downfall in our business is we are terrible at self-promotion. We are awful at it. I mean, terrible. I would tell you to work harder at that, learn how to do it.
I've seen you making some videos.
Oh, I hate it. I mean, it's one of those things. So those would be the things to myself. Take risk earlier on, because you do get older and life starts speeding up really quickly. And learn to promote yourself, because no one is going to promote you like you promote your business. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you all. I think, I know we're getting close to time. We might have time for a couple of questions. Real quick, on the social media note, popped up on my screen this morning as I was scrolling through, and just, some of those quotes are ones that just kind of catch you. It's like, that makes a lot of sense. So my kind of closing quote before we take some questions is, your competition isn't other people. Your competition is your procrastination, your negative thoughts, and your comfort zone. Compete against that. So I thought that was very succinct. So anyway, that's my little 2 cents from Facebook today. But does anybody have any questions for our panelists? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all very much for the very insightful conversation. So the question I have for you is, how do you, I know we've talked so much about relationship, which is really fundamental. How do you push past adversity and roadblocks and other things as an entrepreneur, especially as a young entrepreneur? What is the advice you give to us trying to push back? What advice?
Did y'all hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I usually call Sam. No. How do you push? I think the question was, how do you push back or push past adversity, right? And I think it goes right, dovetails well with Ted's quote. But I think honestly, you only have a few options, right? You run away from it, you go around it, you go over it, under it, or through it. It was told to me one time by a car dealer, actually, who has made out to have a really successful business. He said the problem with solving problems, being solutions oriented, is that right after that problem is the next one. And that next one is actually harder than the one you just solved. And so if you want to just stay where you are, don't solve problems. But if you stop solving problems, you're going to retreat, right? So adversity, I don't know that adversity is a challenge. It's just a fact. It's just a way of life. It's something that we're always going to deal with. Don't be opposed to solving that problem. I can't tell you how to solve the problem. What I can tell you is just know that there's going to be another one after it, and it's going to be different, and it's going to be a little bit more complex. But you have to, just like Lisa said, you've got to bet on yourself. You've got to know that you have what it takes to solve that problem. And I think if you can hold on to that, there's not a problem too big.
I think for speaking probably for everybody on this panel, there's no easy path in entrepreneurship or owning your own business or starting your own thing. It's just, none of it's easy. So certainly don't expect that. But like Lisa said, if you believe in yourself and you're ready to, put the time and effort in, then you just don't quit. Stubbornness maybe is your answer there. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do we have to stand up?
Yeah, you have to.
My name is Caleb Evans. I was just going to ask, you were talking a lot about relationship building.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask, what are some creative ways y'all have found credibility for yourself in a new relationship? There's someone you want to talk with, there's a connection that you want to be able to make, but that credibility, especially in a small town like Abilene, is sometimes really hard to find. So I'm just curious.
No, it's a really good question. And, building out a network, I've never really understood how to do that. I would say when you're building relationships, it's about being genuine. It's about being genuine and vulnerable. So anytime, and I still do this today, anytime I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna sit with somebody and introduce myself, two goals that I have is I want them to know exactly what it is I'm trying to accomplish, and then I want to ask them, how do I get there? That's basically it. And then the other thing I want to get out of them, the second thing is, what are they trying to accomplish? and how are they going to get there? And that opens up some vulnerability, because you're having to share what you've got hidden back behind you, and they're having to share. And there's some genuineness to that conversation, as opposed to me sitting down and reading somebody my resume and hoping to, quote, impress them. You know, now I've actually opened up to them, and we can build from there. And more times than not, people want to help you. I want to help people. If you came to me and said, hey, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to accomplish this, I want to meet this person, I want to help you do that, especially in this community. And so the more you can share that and open up to people, the more genuine those relationships are going to be, and you'll look up one day and you'll actually have a real network. And so that would be my advice to you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one. So, how do you tackle the work-life balance when starting, and then getting those around you on board of your vision and your passion? Can y'all speak a little bit to that?
You want to take it? I'll just jump. It's very, very difficult. Yeah, you know, work-life balance is tough, and you have to. I'll put a plug in for Lucy, my wife. You have to have a true teammate and partner, and they have to fully understand what you guys are trying to accomplish together, and the sacrifices that will entail. There's no way in this world I could do what I've done without that buy-in from my wife. I told you earlier, I very, very risk averse, but I can handle stress pretty well. And if you're going to get in this game, you need to be able to handle that stress, because you cannot let it spill over into your home life. I know this is kind of cliche to say, but you gotta remember what's important, because once you pick up the torch and start running your own business, what you'll find is every single second of the day you're thinking about that business. No matter where you're at, that business sits with you every day, 24 hours a day. And that's, for me, that's just a fact of life that I've accepted, and I had to get the buy-in from my family to accept that as well.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, take it.
No, you got it.
Hey, I would say, on that same note, and I think this is something really important, we all ask this question all the time. I'm trying to find balance. You tell your spouse, your friends, all of that. I think helping, one thing that helps is this reminder that balance is probably seasonal. And so recognizing that the formula that worked for you in the last season you just came out of may not be the one that works for you in the one you're going into. And exactly what Sam said is, be true to you. Start with being authentic, right? And to those relationships that you have, and then understand your values. And you are going to miss opportunities in your career. You're probably going to miss a lot of them. Balance, if you're trying to pursue balance, looks more like pressing into being your true self and what your values are than it does trying to figure out how to take on every opportunity that hits you.
Anybody else? All right. Thank y'all very much. Y'all thank our panelists.
Thanks, guys. Hey, so that concludes this session. I think we got lunch next, so if you guys want to head back out to the main hall where you had your keynote, I think there's some food waiting for you. Thank you guys for coming out.
We were going to ask you questions. We were going to turn it around.
Hey, Ted, did you pick that up from here, man? I'm sorry. Did you pick that sheet up from here?
I printed out from something.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know.
Got your name on it. Look.
You know, it's got yours on it too. So
Yeah.
okay. No, I think with that was just an old draft.